Marking it their 17th feature film, Pixar proved that they can still be innovative and creative after a string of not-so-successful films. This was a sequel long in the works, and it did make people anxious when it was first officially announced, including myself. And rest assured everyone, this is no Cars 2. Opening to a shot of a younger Dory, we meet her family and how she ended up on her journey, how she got lost, and bumps in eventually to Marvin in the first film. Jumping 1 year after meeting Marvin and then eventually Nemo, the son, she ends up going on a journey to find her parents after she begins to have some recollection of where she came from. She starts getting images in her head, flashbacks of where she came from, how she lost her parents and where they might be. And this journey ends up having her going right into an animal rehabilitation centre where she ends up figuring out they could be. I think the biggest fear that people had, and I kind of had the same anxiety, was hoping that the film does not just rely on, having the cool characters from the last film, just kind of like, almost like an inside joke, and they're just running with it, just using those characters. A bit like what Ice Age has done, because there's like 2,000 of those fucking movies now. And most of all, not being a narrative rehash where it's literally just, oh, Dory gets lost, okay, so now they have to go find Dory, a bit like how Nemo got lost, and then they have to go find Nemo. I mean, it's similar in some ways in terms of, Dory eventually, getting kind of lost, but it's very different because it's called Finding Dory, and now that I think about it, it's called Finding Dory, and it's not so much about finding Dory, it's about rescuing Dory, and it's about Dory finding her parents, so it really does stand on its own 2 feet very well. What Pixar do best that most animation companies fail to do is add emotional depth, mature emotional depth, to their stories, and this is one of their most human ones yet, even if it is about fish. Dory has short-term memory loss and really struggles to remember where she came from, and that is absolutely terrifying as a human being, to think you don't know where you came from, and it means your entire environment's almost like a blur. I can't say that out of experience, of course, I'm just saying from things that I've learned, things that I've read. But, this is kind of reminiscent of what we've seen explored in Memento, a film from Christopher Nolan, a very serious look at how the mind works. And, as an animated film, this really comments on memory and loss of memory, and how important it is for your social interaction and your being. And it's quite heavy, you can't read too much into it with Finding Dory, but it really is like that, and there's some very, very astonishing moments when you think, wow, it really is trying to dive into the mind here. The animation, as expected, looks gorgeous, and that can definitely be said for the short that plays before it, called Piper. It's shot very realistically, It simulates how real lenses work. It's got this very shallow depth of field, very shallow focus, and I think it looked gorgeous. Everything with the birds, the water looked just so beautiful. And it was a very, very, very simple concept, no words. Much better than the last year's short from Pixar. It's interesting to look at Finding Nemo now because it looks just as beautiful. You look at the Bug's Life and you're like, whoa, it kind of does look bad, and you see how the standard has been set up by, Pixar themselves. But Finding Nemo, it's fantastic that, an animated film didn't really explore underwater yet, and it looks gorgeous. It really does. So this film kind of manages to keep that kind of stylistic continuity. And of course it looks a lot more beautiful in some moments, definitely, obviously, because time's passed and technology's gotten better. So yeah, it looks brilliant. One thing that I really did like was that chaotic pacing. Now to some that probably would be a problem because it's trying to be too frantic, but you have to consider this is it's a story about Dory. Dory is a very frantic character, her mind is fragmented, that's her thought process. Her thought process is quite hectic. So I think in that respect, the structure of the film really works, and it's a lot of fun. It really is. It just keeps going and going and going. So there's plenty of action in this one. I think there's probably more action in this one than any of their other films. Really, it's just constant mayhem, and then it does slow down at some parts. But really, it just keeps going. It really does just keep going. And with that, it makes it very unpredictable. And with an animated film for these days, that's quite refreshing. So yeah, I really did like the structure. Now before I wrap up, there's a character I'd really like to discuss, and that's the 7-tentacled octopus, Hank. Now, he is a very, very intricate character. He's very, he's got so many secrets, I just can't quite put my finger on his agenda and his mindset quite yet, because there's a lot to this character that doesn't get said, doesn't get that much explained, but the information's definitely there. It keeps it kind of vague, and I think that's absolutely, you know, it's kind of audacious for Pixar to do, and I really appreciate them doing that. This is definitely going to go over the heads of children. There's just so much to him that we don't know. It is great to see a character that's not spoon-fed to us about their backstory and history. Is he just a classic pessimist and likes to be distant from people? Is he just an introvert? Or does something happen to him in his past that has left some sort of traumatic memory? Why does he not like being poked when he's in the kids zone? When they all grab? Because he isn't just scared, he's terrified. So are lots of the other animals, but perhaps he used to be in here. And then he obviously inks everywhere. That part's in the trailer, so that's not really a spoiler. And then we can also consider that he only has 7 tentacles, one was cut off. Maybe that's part of why he is the way he is. We know from the get-go that he wants to go to Cleveland, perhaps to get away. He wants to be isolated. And then he meets Dory. So yeah, overall, I think Hank is just a very intricate and interesting character. I can't wait to rewatch the film and try to really understand who he is. I would love to hear your thoughts on that character. Please comment below. I would really like to see, how other people have seen this character. So overall, I can solidly say it was actually a really enjoyable experience. It had lots of great humor in it, and it was never a bombardment of fart jokes or childish humor. It didn't really slap you in the face or anything. It was good comedy. Of course, obviously in the really fast-paced moments, it's a lot of slapstick kind of stuff. But I thought it was just a solid comedy. It wasn't outrageously funny, and I'm glad it didn't try to be that. It's a poignant, funny, and very adventurous movie, and I think for audiences like myself who loved Finding Nemo are really going to enjoy this one. And if you have children, definitely take them to see it. It's going to be an enjoyable experience for both of you. It's got enough fun for kids and enough emotional depth for adults. So overall, it's an 8 out of 10 for me. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, as usual. Please stay up to date with all the videos and stay tuned for more reviews. And until next time, everyone, I will see you then.